Hello, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. My name is Cobhams Asuquo. I'm a performing artist, singer, songwriter, and music producer. I'd like to thank the organizers of Art of Technology 5.0 for your kind invitation to speak at this conference. Unfortunately, I'm unable to be physically present with you due to circumstances outside of my control. But I was graciously granted the alternative of a few minutes to speak to you remotely. And with this short time, I'd like to share with you some of the problems facing the African creative and our creative economy, and what, in my humble opinion, are viable solutions. At this point in our economic development as a people, it is glaringly obvious that African creatives are some of the most talented the world has to offer. From the stunning rise of Afro beats to the world stage, to the proliferation of African content creators and entertainers on social media, the recognition of our literature and authors by the most respected of international academia, and the prominence of various other art forms, be it in international galleries and museums, the most prestigious of style runways, and various other respected global hubs for the expression of art. We are no fluke. African creatives have proved themselves to be worth the hype. And because of these successes, it might be easy to look at our creative efforts and think that all is well, but that would be wrong. The truth is that when you look at the African, and most in particular the Nigerian creative space, as I can only speak most authoritatively about the space I have experience with, any success you see likely came at great cost to the individual creative and is always the end result of beating impossible odds. It is a wonder and a miracle that African creatives record success, global success at that, because the challenges and the odds stacked against us are designed to most often ensure frustration and ultimately failure. One need not look far to identify these challenges or even their solutions. For example, as with most other sectors in the African economy, one primary challenge is limited access to resources and infrastructure. You see, many African countries have inadequate funding for the arts, which unsurprisingly results in a lack of proper equipment, training, platform, showcasing creative work, and the inability of some employees and practitioners of the arts to even measure up to their Western counterparts. To address this, I think governments and organizations can invest more in the arts, providing grants, scholarships, and funding opportunities to support African creatives. And yes, we know that government cannot do everything. However, the creative economy in Africa, Nigeria in particular, has been largely shouldered and pushed, and I do mean pushed because it has been no easy feat, to the global spotlight where it is today by the private sector. It is time to see our government take a more active, intentional role for the growth as well as the protection of the sector and its economy. Look, we want to see our government engage with the best and brightest in and beyond the creative economy to make policies that enable our success. If we could do this much on our own, just think of what we can do together. It is called the creative economy, not a charity, which means there is much to be gained in terms of national GDP, ensuring returns on any investments the government makes in the sector. Another challenge is the lack of visibility and representation. African creatives often struggle to gain recognition and find opportunities to showcase their work internationally. Social media and digital platforms have helped to mitigate this problem somewhat, but by providing a global stage for African creatives to share their work, gain exposure, connect with the wider audience. But the majority of African creatives still remain undiscovered. Now, to tackle this, it is crucial to foster partnerships for and collaborations between African and global creative industries. This can involve establishing exchange programs, artist residencies, and cultural exchanges that allow African artists to showcase their works in different parts of the world. Additionally, establishing well-equipped cultural centers and art hubs can serve as platforms for collaboration, networking, and better exposure to a global audience. Intellectual property rights and copyright infringements are also major concerns for African creatives. Protecting our work and ensuring fair compensation are crucial for sustaining a creative career. Implementing effective copyright laws and regulations, as well as providing legal support and education on intellectual property rights, can help safeguard the interest of African creatives. Collaborating with international organizations and copyright enforcement agencies can also help combat piracy and unauthorized use of their work. Lastly, a lack of access to comprehensive training and mentorship opportunities. This hinders the growth and development of African creatives. By establishing mentorship programs, workshops, training initiatives, experienced professionals can share their knowledge and expertise with emerging African talents. This can provide valuable guidance, skill enhancement, and networking opportunities, empowering African creatives to be able to navigate the global creative industry, confidently. And now, technology as a solution. You see, building our own technology and digital platforms has a huge role to play, not only in the exposure of African creatives and their work, but also in growing and sustaining the economy we generate. A quick look at all the major social media and digital distribution and streaming platforms of which Africans are on which we are thriving is all it takes to know that not one of them is indigenously owned. None of them belongs to Africa. These platforms generate billions for Africans, but except for a small percentage of that going into the hands of individual creatives for their work on these platforms, all these revenues goes back into foreign economies. We need our own platforms for the good of our economy. Now, imagine with me for a second that any of these platforms, Meta, Spotify, Apple, or TikTok, should crash one bright sunny day or implement a change in policy, that sees them losing operations in Africa. We have no parallel platform on which the creative economies of Africa, billions of dollars in GDP, that rely on this platform, can continue to do business. We have an economy in Africa that is heavily reliant on Western innovation and technology. And technology is key to turning this tide. By the way, it is worth mentioning that these innovations are oftentimes spearheaded, designed, and even implemented by Africans. Look, we need to stop being reactionary and start leading the charge. This will empower us to set the terms and parameters of engagement with outside economies. In conclusion, the African creative economy is fraught with challenges. But the good news is, these challenges are not made of the stuff of rocket science. Neither are their solutions. What we need is a people and government that have purpose to be intentional in fixing the problems and determined to follow through. We have everything else: the brilliant minds, the resilient spirit, even the financial ability of a resource-rich continent. All we need is a change in attitude, and we can accomplish the seemingly impossible. So I ask everyone here today to do their part. If your part is to create, then keep creating. If it is to innovate and build, then do so. If it is to make policies, then do so. The potential for the much we can do is staggering. Let us not be like the man who lives by the ocean yet washes his hand with spittle. There is plenty enough for all of us to thrive, but we need to do the work. That said, it has been my pleasure to be able to reach you today, even though remotely. Please accept my best wishes for the success of this worthy gathering of change makers, Art of Technology 5.0. I hope I can be with you in person some other time, where we can look back on all that was said here today and measure the steps we have taken from where we are to where we hope to be. Thank you for honoring me with this opportunity to address you. Have a wonderful and productive conference.